There you are.
Okay. I love the countdown, by the way. I still love that countdown. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's weird. I have been kind of digging my heels in the sand because everything is moving fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been told to slow down a few times. And I'm kind of weirded out and confused by the whole thing. I am. I'm kind of weirded out and confused by the whole thing. And if you allow me, and number one, thank you for just letting me just rant and talk. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. But the for the first time in a long, long time, I got violently defensive with someone. Well, about something. I'm like, okay, let me explain. It's something that's so weird. It's strange because it doesn't happen to me all that much, right?
Okay.
I was speaking to someone and talking to them about the successive number of steps I'm taking in order to start my new life, walk away from my marriage, establish my new life, going with my career and business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during the course of this conversation, he kept on telling me to slow down, right? Just slow down. And there was one time, and just the one time, that I got this flash, and I kind of like, you kind of steeled yourself against it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, let me stop myself and kind of process what that was. So we had the conversation, which went really well, by the way.
Oh, good.
It was serious, but it was at the same time very unserious.
Did he want you to slow down talking so fast or acting so fast?
Both and neither.
Okay.
Both and neither. All right. Oh, I rewound and realized that that was the moment when he was telling me to slow down. I just wanted to like reach through the phone and use the edge of his desk to bash his teeth in. I mean, it was a very clear and highly specific reaction I was having. And I was like, that's a problem. Why is this a problem? Because you know this, and anybody who's known me for a while knows that you have said slow down to me at least once out loud, right?
Yeah.
And many more times in the back of your head. Once again, was not the first time he told me slow down in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, to your question, the particular time and place in the conversation where he said slow down.
Mm-hmm.
He was telling me to slow my process down, right?
Oh, okay.
And he was telling me to slow my process down and my thinking down at a point when I was explaining a part that would greatly accelerate me leaving
Mm-hmm.
my marriage and my home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why? Why am I getting this reaction right now? And I really wanted to kind of have it was a tangential point of the conversation, which was a very serious part of the conversation we were having. So I set it aside and I just asked the Lord, when I go back through this in prayer, let's think about why I'm having this issue. And as I thought about it, another part of the conversation kept on coming to mind when I was talking about my moral compass, truth, kindness, empathy, joy, and anti greed. And I was focusing on the anti greed part. And I was telling him that I do not reach and grab for things that are not mine or
Mm-hmm.
mine to have, right? I'm very cognizant of when I'm being greedy or I'm grasping for too much, which is different from grasping for what I am owed, what I'm entitled to, having a clear view of what I'm entitled to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all those things, those all coalesce into one thing. And I tripped over the words or those that are mine to have. And when I'm channeling, and at that point I was,
Mm-hmm.
if I skip over words, that usually means that I've got a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm having trouble saying the words and being truthful. So I was like, okay, so what is not mine to have in this very specific interest of this move that I'm making to move forward? And the more I thought about it, It's the fact that I want a clean, fast exit from this. And a clean, fast exit from this life, my marriage, the responsibilities in this is not mine to have. A clean exit where everyone is happy, listened to, that when, as we talk about the divorce and the steps I'm making, it hurts, and I stop and give space and room to air out why it hurts. Maybe even dig deep into deeper fears that were never addressed, because this is not my first divorce, and my children remember my last one. And so my 27-year-old is kind of like, am I going to go through the same thing that I went through the first one? My ex-husband at the time didn't take it very well. So you could imagine what kind of fear wells up in a 28-year-old, that little 9-year-old her, when she hears her mother is going through yet another divorce. All right? You got to sit with that stuff. You have to sit with it, and you have to allow them that space to talk about it. I'm not saying take responsibility for how they're feeling, because you can't and you shouldn't. But when they say, that scared me when that happened, or that happened, you don't go, oh, no. Oh, no, you're overhyping. You're imagining things. No, you sit with it and be like, I am sorry.
Right.
Give a soft space for her to be able to talk about that. Right. I was going to, you remember this weekend, I was going to look at some property. And my husband was like, and it's where we're going is out of the way from where we are and where we're going. It's like I'm going north and then I'm going north-er.
Okay.
And he has to go south. So at first I told Bill, hey, why don't you drop me off at this place, and I'll have an Uber take me to the actual place. And all of a sudden it was just like, well, don't you want to place things there in case you decide you want it and stuff like that? I'm familiar with the person who has the property, so
Right.
so I can put stuff there. And it was those questions. And I understand that he's feeling that I'm trying to erase him from this decision. First of all, I explained that because of the trip we're going on, which was a wellness trip for his dad, I didn't want to add the anxiety of that and the anxiety of, oh, I've got a bunch of stuff in the car that reminds me that my marriage might be ending. I didn't want to do that, and I explained that to him. I'm like, I didn't want to be a big reminder that all this is happening at the same time. Tried to give you some distance from it. He was like, I want to see it. And I was like,
so
okay.
He wants to participate in helping you move to the new place then?
Yes.
Okay.
He does. It's easy to get wrapped up in your ego when you're trying to want a fast exit, to not consider those things. And somebody might still want to give you help even though they're hurting. And so I was like, okay, you can. I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want you to hurt.
That's really considerate of you. It sounds like you guys have a really healthy relationship, that you can have a conversation like that and stop in the moment and discuss what's happening.
We do, but it's because we've always had hard conversations from the very beginning. I'm an intensely private person, but when I do talk, I'm extremely transparent. And that's why people are just surprised to hear that I'm a private person, because you hear all kinds of my business out in the world. You really do. You really, really do. And I don't try to kind of control the narrative anymore. I used to try to control the narrative. And then I realized, especially at my old ass age, that a lot of the things that they're saying, did I do it in that circumstance? Probably not. But have I done that before? Yes. Will I do it again in the right circumstances? Fuck yeah. So I just kind of, And it's all the narration's already out there. So it's not like they're surprised when I actually pop off and do it. Now, when it comes to things like mean, malicious behavior, hateful behavior, evil behavior, oh, I'll correct that in a minute. I swear to you, I do have a therapist.
Sometimes when I started teaching, I was like, I think I might have gone the wrong way. Like I should have been a counselor instead. That said, I can't relate to most of that, but I can relate to the slowing part, the message about slow down. That part, yes, because I've been pushing with the book and I was all excited. I think I told you last time I was excited because I thought I might be able to release it earlier than I originally had planned. Well, I finally heard back from my editor, who had been out of town for a couple of days, and I had thought I sent her the thing last week, and I thought she'd be like a week into it, but that she missed a few days while she was out of town. She hasn't started yet. She wants to start on Monday,
right?
Like this coming Monday, and then she'll probably have it for 2 weeks, and then I'll need a week to fix it. So everything is bumping down, so it's not going to be ready before I go on my trip. So we're leaving on the 3rd. And so if she's not even starting the book until Monday, she's not going to be, she might be finishing it up as I'm getting back from the trip, because we're going to be gone for a week. But that means I'm not sending out ARCs before the trip, which was my original plan.
Right. But it also means you don't have to worry about it on your vacation, because you know exactly where it is.
Right.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippy-yay.
So yeah, and so I had this sort of feeling of like, oh, I'm disappointed because I had got all excited about everything happening fast and being able to, and I was like, oh, maybe if I'm sending out the ARCs before I go on the trip, then that means that I was going to publish it sometime in September, and I hadn't really picked a date.
Right.
But I was like, well, if that's happening, then I had read something about somehow being better off if you release it at the end of the month. And so I was like, well, maybe I could release it that last week of August when I've got a promo for something else going on anyway, and I'll like tie those two things together, and it'll be a little bit earlier. But apparently that is not going to happen, because I will still probably be formatting it, and the paperback won't be ready, and people will just have had ARCs for like a week and a half at that point. So I went and was looking at the calendar and was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to slow down. And so then the next weekend, that first weekend of September is Labor Day. And I'm like, I feel like that's probably not a good time to put out a book, because people are out doing stuff with their family and not sitting around reading, probably. So then I was like, all right, so what's the next week after that? Well, the next week after that is a Friday the 13th. And my first book came out Friday the 13th in October.
Right.
And there is no other Friday the 13th. I don't think I looked it up this year. There isn't one happening for the rest of this year. So if I release it on September 13th, then that's a Friday the 13th, just like last year, which feels like a nice bit of symmetry.
Yeah,
and I was like, so maybe that's just what it was meant to be. It was meant to be bumped down a little bit further so that I could have it on Friday the 13th. And then I looked ahead. I was like, all right, well, so for the next one, what are we going to do next year? Because there won't be a Friday the 13th in September next year if there's one this year.
Yeah.
And there won't be one in October because there was one last year. So now I was like, I don't think right. And so I went in and looked, and I think it's like June. There's a Friday the 13th in June. And I was like, I had talked about publishing 2 books a year and having one of them come out in like May or June. And maybe this is the sign that book 3 needs to come out June 13th because it's Friday the 13th. And then that's the beginning of me being able to have a book come out 2 books a year. So that was kind of exciting. And then the one that comes in the fall, it just won't be a Friday the 13th because there isn't one in September or October or November. So, yeah. but I was like, that'll be all 3. That'll be the 3 books of this trilogy will all have come out on Friday the 13th.
Isn't that amazing?
If I do it that way.
It's not.
And I was like, that sounds really cool. So I think, I just needed to slow down. That's what's happening. Is the editor has, it wasn't what I had expected. It wasn't what I wanted, but it's working out better, I think, this way, because I don't know. I think that sounds really cool to just do all through Friday the 13th.
I think
And then we'll start a new thing, book 4.
I think that's our discussion topic today. Why are we afraid of that shit? Why are we afraid of it?
Oh yeah, it's just everything. I keep being reminded lately that I'm rushing things, that I'm rushing through things, and I don't know why I'm doing it. I didn't feel like I was doing it. But I met another woman who's trying to publish a book through a Discord channel, and she had been asking me some advice on publishing, and so I was telling her about my experience with my first book and what I did. And I was like, your mileage may vary. This is how I did it. There's a billion other ways to do it and whatever. And she just keeps stopping me and being like, this was your first book. And I was like, yes. And she's like, and it came out in October. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, you've done all of this. And I'm like, in my head, it doesn't feel like a lot. It's like one book and it was out. But like, I'm looking at the list of things I told her and I'm like, oh, I have done a lot. I do know a lot more now than I did 6 months ago.
Yes, I think a lot of us, especially those of us who are kind of neurospicy, neurodivergent, we forget that we are capable of just processing a lot of information and doing the work once our brains decide that yes, we're actually going to sit down and yes, we're actually going to do the work, and no, we're not going to think about why are there vultures in the backyard and shit like that. Right? But once we settle down and do it, we get more done in an hour than folks get done in days. But because those things are so few and far between, and we are taught that we should be productive or go, or if we're not doing something constantly, we're doing something bad, we tend to downplay the potency of the moments when we actually do get stuff done. Or the potency of the way I do it. I sprinkle it like salt. There's a lot of small wins all over the place. And then when I actually sit down, I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. Most of it is done. And you're just like, oh.
It's already done.
And you're sitting there like, why was I fretting for 3 weeks about this?
Yeah.
And I would love to say that it has something to do with being better organized time-wise or anything like that. And there's a lot to be said for that, and I really do benefit from it. But part of that is also understanding that even though I have organized my grimoire with rituals and things that I do, I also have to make sure that it isn't a strict 10:15 a.m. I do this, and more of like from 10 to 1, get 3 to 5 things off this general list done. If you can do that, you're doing number one, understanding the truth of that, looking very clearly at myself and saying, girl, you ain't a 10:15 a.m. girl. You are within the range, you're the cable company, within the range of like 10 and 1. And there's nothing wrong with that. Eliminating the shame and guilt from that. And then actually doing it. So and funny, it's my procrastination that also contributes to me wanting to go fast. Do it so I don't forget, or I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to procrastinate, and it's not going to get done. And it just makes it worse. So like, for instance, this Kickstarter I'm on, ask me, when was the last time you talked to your pledgers, your backers? When was the last time you talked to your backers? Yeah.
When was the last time you talked to your backers?
May, I think. Honestly.
What is the timeline on your Kickstarter? Is it supposed to end?
No. The Kickstarter's already over. I've already told them and all that. I'm talking about on fulfillment. I'm like,
oh right, I was gonna say you had it all on your desk. You had pictures of stuff lined up.
I still have them. All those things done. Oh, and then I lost a manufacturer. Then I lost a second, and then I lost the third. And before that, I lost the stock. The ones that I had from the first manufacturer, lost all that too. And so I don't have that. And you think, and so I was thinking, well, I'll let them know. I still haven't let folks know.
Oh no.
And that's what I need to do today. I need to write saying, hey, to the two folks who waited way, way long to give me your background information, you've missed that train. The second print has been delayed because I had a bunch of shenanigans. And for those of you who are expecting it to fulfill in August, like I said, I'm going to get them in August now. And they're going to go in September. My brain was all like, if you work faster, you don't have to tell anybody that this is the issue, right? Instead of just taking some personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And just saying, hey, this stuff happened. I think for me, the reason why I move fast, or I have been moving fast, is because I want to get it done and the consequences done and over with. When the problem isn't the consequence for me. The problem is the responsibility. Because I don't want people to be like, thought you ain't shit. I thought you weren't shit. I'm afraid of that. I'm still afraid of that. I am not. I know they're not telling the truth when they say they ain't shit, because I know I am the shit. But I don't want folks dogging me out either. I don't want to be. I do want to prove. And there's nothing wrong with that in its place.
Right. Yeah, I had to send out an email because I originally had thought that I was going to try and send my ARCs out next week.
Right.
I had already started collecting ARC reviewers.
Right.
And so I have a whole newsletter list that's separate from my regular newsletter list of people who want to read the ARC. And I was like, how long can I go without giving them an actual date? Because I have never given them a date. I just have been like, it's coming out in August. Ish, yeah. I was like, it'll be, early August. And that was going to be like mid-August, whatever. So on Monday, I finally broke down and was like, all right. And the only reason I did it was because somebody came at me on Instagram and was like, hey, I feel like I signed up for this a couple of months ago and I never heard back. And she was very polite about it, but she was like, when do I find out if I've been selected as an ARC reader, and when does the book come out, or when does the ARC come out? And I was like, and my first response was to get mad. And I was like, first of all, there is no way you signed up for this 2 months ago, because I wasn't sending. I have a form out. I wasn't collecting anything 2 months ago. What are you talking about? And then I went and looked at the calendar, and I was like, okay, it's almost 2 months ago that I looked for beta readers. Right. And so I was like, maybe she's thinking about beta. And I did have a bunch of people that applied that said they were interested in beta reading, but then didn't follow through and set themselves up on Story Origin. So I was like, maybe she's one of those people and I just lost her. So I went in and looked for her, and I finally found her in MailerLite, and she had signed up for beta reading, but for some reason, when the first here's how to beta read instructional campaign went out, she didn't get it. It didn't get sent to her. Right. And I was like, why did they not? I'm like, she's in the group. I sent the campaign to the group. Everybody else in the group got it. Right. And why didn't she get it? So then I'm going through and looking at other stuff. And she also had requested to join my regular newsletter. But there's nothing after that either. She was put in the group, but she never got anything. Right. And I'm like, why? Well, that's weird. So then I'm going through it and I'm clicking on all the things. And finally I found out she's unconfirmed. So she either got the email asking for confirmation and that MailerLite sends out, not the one that I make. And either she got it and she didn't click on it, or it went to her junk mail, or she didn't see it, or whatever. So I messaged her back and I was like, I'm really sorry. This is what I think happened. I'm going to take you out of the group and put you back in the group, and maybe it'll send you a confirmation email again. Just be on the lookout for it this time, and, check your junk mail and see if it goes in there. And then I let her know that I was going to send out an update for ARC readers. And she was super appreciative and really sweet about it. And I was like, I'm so glad I wasn't mean to her when I was mad.
Right.
But so yeah, so then I had to go send out. I made an ARC update that's like, all right, it's still with the editor. Here's what I'm planning to get it back. Here's what I'm planning for you to get it. And in the meantime, here's a link to some like random goodies that I gave my newsletter a while ago that y'all don't know about because you weren't in my newsletter at the time.
So cute.
And I gave them all of that. And I was like, here's some presents. Please don't be mad that you have to wait. And then as soon as I did that, I proceeded to get another 2 or 3 people signing up for ARCs every day this week. So I set up an automation yesterday that like anytime somebody gets added to the ARC group, they automatically get this email that I sent out on Monday that has all the actual dates in it and the link to the goodies and whatever. So now it's just easier. But it was like I don't know if the universe was waiting for me to take responsibility or what, but as soon as I sent out that email, my list started growing again and it had been sort of stagnant. So that was like a little note to self, like just take responsibility for what needs to happen and do the thing and be aware of what the timeline is going to be and just let them know.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it and now it's working.
Right. If we can get past our ego just long enough.
Yes.
just long enough.
Oh yeah.
We'll do it and everything goes fine. And I think that's what it is. It's that point of resistance is the moment when I know I have to take responsibility. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in my hands. Yeah. But yeah, it's about that point where we realize that this isn't just, oh, well, they're spending $15,000 or, they are not writing well. It's us. It is me
Mm-hmm.
sitting down doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't put that on anybody else or any other thing. And I think that's number one. That's the reason why I sit up there and have good friends who can tell me no and be like, hey, bitch. Right. Number one, that's why I have good people around me. And number two, that's why I concentrate on anti-greed and personal responsibility, because without feeling sorry for myself, I could get so much done if I just push through my ego for like a few minutes to get to the thing. But I'm not there yet where I do that with every single thing. I'm at the point where I realize this is the problem. And now it's time for deliberate, intentional steps. So that's I'm glad we talked about this, and I'm also glad that this isn't a CK Rants bonus. It's it is what we're talking about today. So, what are you loving this week?
This week I should be loving other people's stuff, but currently I am loving my own stuff. I don't know. I was going to tell you about some show I was watching, but honestly, I haven't really been paying attention to the shows because I've been messing with my merch this week. So I made those little things at the Science Museum, and so now I have this necklace to put it on. And then I bought some charm bracelets, and they came a lot faster than I thought they were going to. But they're pretty cute, and they've so you just hook this through, and then I got a couple of Ankh charms to stick on it. So now I'm learning how to attach them. And then I was trying to decide which things are going to go in the box and which things are going to be sold separately from the box. And I think for my promos that I send out to people, I will put like one of everything. Mm-hmm. And then when I do the box for sale on my shop or my Etsy store, I'll be like, do you want the hunter box or do you want the witch box? And if you get the hunter box, then you get the necklace with the little sigil on it. And if you get the witch box, then you get the one with the ankh on it. And then there'll be like a deluxe version where you can get everything at once, but giving people options that way.
And then maybe a store for the individual items later on. Or an
Yes.
add-on?
Because I could do the necklaces by themselves and the bracelets by themselves. And then I went in and I ordered new enamel pins from Sunny,
Ooh.
our friend. So just like these are the pins I made last time that look like a little coffee
Yes.
cup thing. So the new book has a potion bottle on the cover. So I just followed your template and I went in and I made a new one that looks just like this one, except it's a little potion bottle. And then I sent that to Sunny with all the same dimensions and the same color and everything. So that's in progress now. So it just went into production. So I should get that soon. Hopefully I get it before we go out of town, but we'll see. So I'm thinking, the third book cover has a teacup on it. So I'm thinking it'd be cool to have pins of those three things that are all this same sort of yellowy gold with the gold glitter stuff in it. And they've all got the same like moon and stars symbol on them. And so you'll have like this collection where you can have like the coffee cup and the potion bottle and the tea cup. And then once I have all three of them, I can sell them as a set, or I could sell them individually.
I was just about to say that. And when you do your omnibus on Kickstarter,
yeah,
you're like, oh, no, that's too far away.
We're talking about Russian things, but I do. I can see that it's in the future, but I can see that. And then today I was talking to the artist who did my Queens Creek logo. Yeah. So I did these little stickers that have holographic stuff on them, which is pretty cool. And I was going to do patches, like fabric patches. And so today she sent me a vector version, so it's got less details in it. And the lines are a little bit thicker, so it'll look better as a patch. And I was like, okay, so while I have you, can I also have just the line work, like a black and white version? Because I kind of like the idea of turning it into a stamp that I can put on like envelopes and stuff. Nice. And she could charge me extra for that one because she already had she's just taken the color out of it. So I was like, when I gave her that one, I was like, I promise I'm not going to ask you for anything else. Because originally I just wanted a character picture. And then I wanted a character picture and a logo. And then I needed the logo to be vectorized so that I could turn it into a patch. And I'm like, if you give me the line drawing for them, then we'll be done for this book. And then
I would strongly suggest you keep all of those things in a list somewhere. So when you request that of her, you can request all of it at the same time.
All of the same thing. Yep.
Just have it all.
Right. These are all the things we're going to need.
Right. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Cool.
So what I'm loving, I'm sorry, were you done?
I am done, yeah.
What I'm loving this week is one of the other things that I was talking to my friend about, getting things ready for getting a list of offerings together for this year and next year, right? And I have a contemporary series, Shaman States of America, which is contemporary Monster Hunter, but I started out doing a high fantasy series called Alazar. And it had factions and it has a lot of lore in it. And because I love world building, I am starting to more and more to become convinced that those of us who enjoy prose become writers, and those of us who enjoy world building become game designers. So I'm going to turn Alazar into a battle game a la Warhammer, except that there will be good guys. There will be altruism there. Because Warhammer, there are no good guys. Everybody's just there for death, destruction. It's craziness. It's a good time, but it's craziness. And I'm also looking at how they license and market, because there are video games, there are card games, there are mobile card games, there's movies all around the lore, right? And a lot of it is like that, right? And I was like, I want that same excitement and everything for the game, but I don't want a bunch of dicks will rise and faces will melt. Right? I don't want that. And so I'm on TikTok and I'm following this guy named Shining Nathan. And he is a very warm, southern, feminine gay, right?
Mhm.
Just those warm, just southern lady type gays, right? I love him. And he talks like this with the southern accent. And, oh, bless our heart. And oh, you didn't hear it from me, but I did talk to somebody's on the Inquisitor's detail. And he does the explanation of Warhammer 40K lore as Southern brunch gossip. And child, for someone who has been with the Warhammer series since the old magic, I will tell you, this is the most delightful thing ever. And when he's talking about the different factions and in the orcs particularly, about how they are psychers and they don't, child, it turned out they're psychers and they don't know they're psychers. So that's where I always say the orcs are what happen where the power of imagination becomes real. Because they don't know they're making, all they know is that if they think something and it's going to run, it happens that way. Right? I was like, this is amazing. So, if y'all want to see what I'm gushing about, check him out. Shining Nathan, common spelling, ShininGNathan, all lowercase, all one word, right?
Okay.
And if you see a bearded dude with a big moo on and a bald hat, you're in the right place. And then go to his series and look at 40K lore and sit back with your mimosa as he tells you about all the buckery that happens. Praise be to the Emperor. and, and that's what I'm loving because I found the kind of tone I want to set for the lore of
Mhm.
Alazar.
Oh, that'd be so
Yeah, we're
fun.
still in pre-production. You ain't gonna see none of that until I get Medusa's trucking company up,
Mhm.
and we're there. We're at play. We are about to start playtest. All I needed to do, I was talking about weeks about how I'm dangerously close to a playtest. Forgot all the rest stops, so I had to write them. But we got those together. Excuse me, we got those together. So we're gonna have a proper playtest, and I am so stoked about it. I'm so happy.
Yay.
Yay! So what are we going to? I done slow down. We done
Yeah,
lost a
yeah.
week. Um, what do you want to get done by the time we talk next?
All right. So I was thinking about that because I originally had thought this next week I would be doing revisions, but that's not working for me. So the editor's still gonna have it. So I can't be doing anything on Unforgivable because she still got it. And then I am kind of at a stopping place on the merch stuff right now because most of it came in already. So I need to do like some painting, but there's not really that much. So what I am gonna do is I broke down and I bought
I
Romancing the
love that
Beat.
book. I have the audiobook.
So I started blocking out my companion book, my time travel romance. Um, so I think I'm gonna try and finish the outline next week, and then maybe I can start drafting it when I get back in between when the editor gets my other book back and I'm revising. So because I'm not sure, I don't have a deadline for when, which is part of the problem for when I'm going to have this novella out. But it would be cool if it was sooner than
Right.
later, and I could kind of tie it in with some of the other things that I'm doing. Um, but so I need to work out what this. I'm about halfway through the Romancing the Beat book, and I've been trying to find like what would fit in the story because the story is two characters from the first book, and it takes place during the same time period as the second book, but it's in a different location with different
Oh,
people. So like those two books are kind of side by side, but this one is it's not. I don't think it's going to be a full novel. I think it's going to be a really long short story or a short novella. Um, but because it's just kind of one adventure, but it's not a true like rom-com situation where they meet and then they go through problems and then they end up together at the end, because they've already at the beginning of this book they're already a couple, but they've been separated by time, and so we've got to figure out how to solve the issue of she went back in time and lived her way to the future like Captain America basically. And he's didn't, so he's his same age he's always been and she's older, and so it's starting from there and then working to how do we solve that problem so that at the end they have a happy ending. I haven't decided whether the happy ending at the end is them both being young or them both being old, but they've got to be the same whichever way it goes when
They
we get
meet in
there.
the 70s.
Right. I'm like, we gotta figure this out. I think she's already lived through her life, so I need him to get back in time and live with her up to so that they're both I kind of like the idea of them both being old at the end of this, because then Kate, my main character for the main series, has got a friend from book 2 who is younger than her, and then she's going to meet a new friend in book 3 who is a mother. And then if Elspeth is still old, then she's got her own maiden mother and crone situation, which I might enjoy going forward into the ongoing series. That this is a group of people that she can come to for advice, or that she can come to for help with whatever her ongoing adventures are. I kind of like having that set up behind her. But that means that Elspeth has to get to a place where she's happy being a crone.
Well, crone doesn't mean you're old and decrepit.
Right. No, she's not.
I'm crone. I mean, I've reached the part in my life where I am the crone, right? Okay. And what that is just not putting up with bullshit and giving the straight answers, and giving space for the younger folks to get out of there, to look at themselves and embrace the truths and not just kind of melt down under the heat of it. So that's what that is. So I'm embracing my
it's a good place to be. It's a good place to be. I just need her. I need the character and her love interest and my readers not to be bitter about the fact that they didn't get to see, because she was 20 when she went back in time. And so like for the readers right now, it seems like she's been robbed of a certain number of years, which I have not specified, between 20 and whatever she is now. But I know that she lived that life, and it was a very full life. So that's part of what has to show up in this new novella is what that life was like and why she has earned the place that she's in now and is successful and happy.
I would even give her somebody that she loved not as much as this guy and lived that life and he passed on. I mean, I would do that too. I was like, I've got a full life. And now I have an opportunity to restart it, do it again with you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah. So that's my... This week, I think I'm going to try and sort out what the questions are and then answer as many of them as I can and get it into a place where when I come back from vacation, all I have to do is write it. Yeah. As if that's not the hard part.
Oh, this is so fun. I'm so glad.
Okay.
All right. What I'm going to do this week is the thing that I've been trying not to face. And it's my written, it was communication to my audience. I have not done it. I haven't. And part of it is I don't like talking to people unless I have solutions. And that stems from folks not wanting to hear what I have to say unless I have one. And a part of it is that I'm embarrassed that I have to talk about a solution because I don't like things going badly. But it only makes it worse. So the goal by the next time I see you is to have, number one, an update to my backers, to let them know what's happening. And then start putting together newsletters Just articles, structuring how I want to have that done, and a structure or how I'm going to continue to communicate. And I think I may have to hire someone, because left to my own devices, this bitch ain't writing nothing for you. So I really need to look into like a virtual assistant a couple of days a week to help me knock out this communication. Maybe Michael's available. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I plan to do by the time we meet next week. Write an email.
I mean, it's a very important email, so it's good to have that as a goal. It'll get done.
All right. So, yeah, that's my goal. That's it.